These are just some general updates from Gaza, but I'll start with the most scandalous one. There's a hospital in Gaza that treats cancer patients, and the Israelis bombed it, and now they turned it into a military base. This is the Turkish Friendship Hospital. Let's see, that's the name.
אנחנו כאן, בתוך עזה, בבית החולים הטורקי, הולכים לקיים את הסדר הגדול ביותר שנצפה אי פעם בעזה. אנחנו עכשיו בעיצומם של ההכנות. עוד כמה דקות ייכנס החג.
חברים, ככה סבט, ככה הלוחמים שלנו מקבלים את התספוקת שלנו.
You see, he's at the entrance there, right?
הלוחמים שלנו מקבלים את התספוקת שלנו, כל הדברים וכל הגורמים הרלוונטיים שאנחנו מקבלים מהטל והמקומות המקצועיים. אז מה בעצם תוכלו למצוא כאן? בין היתר במנות פתיחה, יש לנו מרק צח וקניידלח, מטבוחה, חציל בטיבול יווני, ג'עלוק, מיונז, גזר מגורד. נעבור לעיקריות, יש פה צלי בקר ברוטב פטריות, יש כאן סטייק פרגית ברוטב מתקתק.
How lovely, they seem to be dining out while they're starving the Gazans who are right outside. I can't for the life of me understand why anyone would hate them. Why would you hate Israelis? Just look at them, you know, they just want to hug. They just want to have a hug while they starve you, you know.
תוספות, קוביות, תפוח אדמה ובצל, מנות אחרונות, פירות העונה, פטיפורים, פיקוד הדרום עוטף באהבה סיירת נחל, אוהבים אתכם. כל הקינוחים פה כבר מוכנים לאחרי הארוחה שלנו בתיאבון.
חבר'ה, מילה משותפת לליל הסדר ומגילת אסתר. מילה משותפת לליל הסדר.
You get the idea. You get the idea. Meanwhile, this is on the receiving end. This is footage from a UN car in Gaza. Desolate.
I'm at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, where NGOs have so far uncovered 2 mass graves since Israel withdrew their forces. Many of the bodies that were found here were those of healthcare workers who were still in their scrubs and patients with IV catheters still in their arms. Many were still bound with plastic cuffs or executed at point blank distance or buried alive. Really thank God for you guys. Every place here is tinged with so much death and destruction. It beggars belief. What's being done here to life is just difficult to fathom, and it's really impossible to contain in language or even in video. This is a Holocaust. It's an extermination of an indigenous people. I'm gonna let you just have a look at the views here. This was a hospital. Khan Yunis is completely destroyed, by the way. The city, their tents have been turned into ovens. The heat is unbearable, truly. And now there's flies and mosquitoes and scorpions that people have to contend with. I mean, these are the details that don't that don't reach people. Honestly, I think most people are just waiting for death, to be honest. They're hanging on because of their children. They're hanging on because of the people that they love. I mean, it is really, really... You can see... These are the zip ties that were found on bodies. You can see this obviously belonged to a small person, a child. This is a, you can see this is also was on a child. And even though all the bodies have been removed, at least the ones that they found, but there's still a really horrible smell.
That's from Susan Abul Hawa, right? And as one of you pointed out in the comments, whatever you see on the phones, it's infinitely worse. That's what she said. This is a short clip from a doctor.
90% of my patient population are residents of San Jose. I speak about pain control for pregnant women every day. And for the last 2 months, one of the most common questions my pregnant patients ask me is, how do you do a C-section with no anesthesia? How do you do a C-section with no anesthesia? And I say, I don't know. We do everything. We will put a patient to sleep. We don't cut on people without anesthesia. They ask me, how do they amputate children's limbs without anesthesia? And I say, I don't know. My patient population is not majority Palestinian. They are not majority Muslim. My name is Sarah. I'm a...
So you get an idea of the medical conditions in Gaza. You have to contend with injury and then amputation or operation without anesthetic or local or otherwise. So, it's back to World War I conditions. So they'll, hack your limbs off or drill into you, and you gotta be awake the whole time. So I'm pretty sure that some people probably die during operations because of that, or because of the fact there's no medicine to treat infections in the case that infections arise after operations, and also there's no water, so and no food. So if you're fighting a fever and you have an infection, you're probably at risk of dying as well. It's very severe, very bad. And you can see they've already started bombing Rafah again. To me, this is a moot point when they talk about invading Rafah. They're already slaughtering the people there. Look at this, for example. They're burning down all the food with bombs. Right, and now the problem is, how do you fight a fire during a genocide, and you've got no you've got no emergency services. There's a complete breakdown of public order. Forget about it. Forget about it. This is what people are protesting. All these things that I just showed you, that's what people are protesting on university campuses. They don't want this. Very simple to understand. Very, very simple. Nothing complicated about it. Only Zionists want to complicate things and make you think like, oh, it's nuanced. No, there's really nothing nuanced about it. No, none whatsoever. And I want you to remember these images when the Israelis whine, whenever they whine in the future, because when decolonization happens, you can't pretend like, you know, you're some kind of victim. No one forced you to go to Palestine. No one forced you to steal these homes. No one forced you to keep the people out of their homes. No one forced you to do this. No one. This is it's criminal behavior on another scale. You know, I don't think that the current human civilization as it is now is even able to judge criminals like this, because when you have tribunals like after World War II in Nuremberg, and then the whole concept of crimes against humanity is just like repeated again with no consequences. It shows you that either the system is flawed or the people that maintain the system are really just bad faith actors. And I want to point your attention to the fact that Gaza is one episode of the genocide. You know, it's the whole region. The whole region has been attacked, starved, sanctioned, bombed, sabotaged by Israel, by Britain, and by the United States for decades, if not centuries, if you want to count the French and the British as well, which you should, because they are also European powers, and the behavior was the same. So, you know, we have to look at this as a continuous campaign of genocide and ethnic cleansing in order to control the resources and the geostrategic position of the Middle East. You know, Gaza is not one single event, a fluke. It's one episode in a much larger genocide. Okay. These things that I've shown you on screen, like here, these fires, the food stores being burnt down, the lack of anesthetics or lack of anesthesia. I mean, have these things not been, or the mass graves, you know, or the Israelis appropriating a building that they bombed and turning it something else? Have they not done these things in Lebanon and Syria before? Yes, they have. Not on this scale, but the same principle, you know, and they've done this across the Middle East. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say that this is one episode in a much larger genocide against Arabs that's been carried out by European powers. Again, YouTube demonetized my channel because I'm not allowed to say naughty things about Israel. You know, telling the truth is forbidden. So if you are able to donate a few dollars on PayPal or on a monthly basis on Patreon, please consider doing it, because it would really help me continue my journalism and support independent media. So I'd be very grateful. And the links are in the description and also in the chat. Thank you guys very much again for all your donations and all your kind comments. I appreciate it very much.